F1 Driver Career Mode Season 2, round number 9, the Belgian Grand Prix. We're back. It's been a bit of a break for a few reasons. Firstly, I had an issue, which I'll talk more about in a second, with this particular race weekend. And also, my Logitech G29 wheel has been having more issues with the throttle pedal lately, so that's kind of put me back a little bit. But now I've now got a Moser R5, so I've upgraded my wheel. That is what I'm using today. So we'll talk about that a bit more in a second. Looking at R&D going into this race weekend at McLaren, we have just slightly gone back behind Aston Martin again going into this race weekend, but everybody else pretty much stayed the same. A little bit of an improvement for Mercedes, but they're still a fair way back from the top 4. Alpine also a little bit closer to Sauber, but they still have the worst car. Now you're probably wondering why am I looking at a Red Bull here? So basically, I did qualifying with my Logitech G29. My OBS then decided to stuff up and corrupt the recording, so I don't have the recording of qualifying for that session. But then I realized that my Logitech G29 was having way more issues with the pedal than I've had before. It was costing me so much time down like this straight here in particular, that I decided, you know what, I've got to go out, I've got to do it anyway, go out and buy a new racing wheel. So I bought a Moser Racing R5. I've also got the Formula 1 ES wheel, so I've actually got an F1 wheel that I can use with F1 now. So this gameplay you're seeing here is just in the time trial mode. I just did this to, you know, try and get used to my new wheel, because it is very different. The Moser R5 is very different to the Logitech G29. Definitely something to get used to, but I do quite like it, I will be honest. It is pretty damn cool. So I thought I'd just do some time trial stuff and use this as the footage for qualifying, because I don't have that initial footage. So that's why I'm in a Red Bull, because that's just the car that I chose to drive around in, and I got a decent lap here, so I didn't really want to go into a McLaren and try and do it again. So this is what you're getting for qualifying. But yeah, the rest of this is with the Moser wheel, so just bear in mind it is going to take me a little bit to properly get used to the wheel. I'm pretty much getting there, but there are a few little things that are very different about the wheel, so I will eventually get used to it. But yeah, that is it. So let's get into this race.
Welcome to this visit to the Ardennes countryside. Spa-Francorchamps hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925, and this historic track is loved by drivers and fans alike. And us here in the commentary box too. So it's a warm welcome from the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 meters of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Sainz, Albon, Magnussen, Shaw, Hulkenberg, Perez, Norris, Tsunoda, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Russell, Gasly, Bottas, Stroll, Joe, Sargent, and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So as you can see from the starting positions there, it was a pretty crazy qualifying. Both Haas's and also Albon getting into Q3, and Albon up in P5, Magnussen in P6 ahead of myself. So it was a crazy session. As we get underway here, I'm already past Magnussen. We dive on the inside of Carlos Sainz, get a little bit chopped in by Albon there, and that lets Sainz get back past us. But we have made a position up on one of the Haas's. Perez just behind me as well. Also, still side by side actually with Kevin Magnussen. Haas are yet to score a point this season. They finished 10th and last in the championship last season as well. But they've had a car that really, they've had like the 6th quickest car for quite a while, so they should be scoring points. Well, both of them are in the points currently, so maybe this will be the weekend where Haas can finally score their first points and get themselves off the back of the table. as we continue on here, just getting used to this new wheel. It is very different. I also, while doing this race, I didn't quite have the wheel set up with my racing stand. I've got a racing kind of metal stand that is designed for the Logitech G29. I've had to modify it a bit for the Moser wheel because the holes don't quite line up and everything, but I have now got it properly set up. However, for this race I didn't have it properly set up. I had the wheels the pedals, sorry, kind of precariously bolted to it how I could, and then had my wheel actually just clamped onto my desk. So that's what the case is here. So this race is very much just getting used to this new wheel. Although, to be honest, I think I get used to it relatively quickly, and once I'm properly, in the flow with it, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this wheel, because just the feel you have in the car, you can feel what's going on so much more than you can with the Logitech G29. I'm very excited to start properly using this new wheel. End of lap 1, and yeah, decent lap up to P6. Albon there is in P4 in the Williams. What a result that is, as we have a bit of a kick of oversteer around the first corner. And we have a look at Alex Albon actually. Lap number 3, he has Max Verstappen ahead of him, and he's actually going to try and go for the move, as the lead is also having a little bit of a look there as well. But Albon gets ahead of Verstappen and is up to P3. A Williams is into 3rd place, into a podium position in this race. As at that same point in time, Perez actually starts catching up to the back of Haas. He's had a pretty good start. We end up having to let him go. We don't quite have the ERS to deploy there. Another thing, especially at the start of this one, getting used to is which buttons do what. I've kind of mapped them to how I want them mapped, but there's a lot more buttons on this wheel compared to the G29, and they're also in different positions, so that's something I'm also going to have to get used to. As at the front, a few laps later, Piastri is now fighting Leclerc. These are the top 2 in the championship, and Piastri has gotten ahead of his championship rival and is now leading this race. The 2 Haases also still in the point, 8th and 9th, not as good as where they qualified. But I mean, they were always kind of expected to fall behind myself and Perez. But they're actually going to swap positions here. Hulkenberg getting ahead of Magnussen. So good to see. It's nice to actually have a look at these Haas cars for once, because, brand new livery, the yellow DHL livery for this season. We haven't really seen much of them this season because they haven't really been doing much, in the top 10. So it's good to actually see them here. A few laps later, and we actually now catch back up to Perez again, starting to get used to this wheel a little bit more, and we go round the outside, brake later than him off the straight, and get up back into P6 again. Now we've just got to try and catch up 2 signs ahead. Although Perez is quick, he has the fastest lap at the moment of the race, and he's coming back at us. I'm going to make him, though, go to the outside into this braking zone, but we're going to brake later than him, hug the inside, try and keep the position. I want to have some good racing here, and we managed to stay ahead of him, but we've now just got to try and push on because we now have a 2-second gap to Sainz. Up at the front once again, and Piastri's managed to lead the way for a few laps, but on lap number 10, as people start coming into the pits, Leclerc gets back into the lead again. These 2 a fair way ahead of everyone else, could partly because Albon is maybe slowing down everybody behind him a little bit, but I mean, he's not massively far away. And as we take out the bollard coming into the pits there, we come into the pits at the end of lap number 10 with the leaders, Albon and Verstappen as well. And we're going to come in for our change onto medium tyres. So it is a soft to medium race here at Spa. The mediums go onto the car, and we come out just behind Verstappen there. Bit of a laggy replay. I don't know what it is. This game has been a lot laggier recently than what it used to be. But we come out behind Verstappen. Albon is still ahead of Verstappen, although we're going to end up coming out P11. As I came out of the pits, my wheel was kind of turned a little bit and it slightly pushed us into the wall, but no damage there. As now lap number 11, Verstappen gets himself past Ocon, and we're going to get stuck a bit behind Ocon here. He started on the mediums. Both Alpines started on the mediums. Everybody else started on the softs. So now we're kind of a little bit stuck behind Ocon here. We are a lot quicker than him on these fresh mediums. By the way, Perez there behind us, he's on the hard compound, so I don't know why he's gone to the hards. We're going to go for a late lunge on Ocon. He's just about going to get out of our way, actually. It was a little bit audacious by us going for that move, but he did get out of our way, and it will put us back up into the top 10 and ahead of Ocon. Gasly, the other car up ahead, just ahead of Verstappen here, as you can see, hasn't come into the pits yet either. And we have a lot of speed here. And we're going to go out the inside of Verstappen in through that corner, as he was just taking a little bit too long to get past Gasly. And then we're going to fire it up the inside of Gasly into the chicane. He's going to be ahead as we get out of the chicane though, but I'm going to try and get a better run down to turn 1. Maybe we won't be able to do anything right here, but we will then get the DRS down the next straight, and with him not having any DRS from anyone up ahead, we're going to this time squeeze ourselves to the inside, brake later than him, and get up into P5. So we've gained a position here on Verstappen, getting past him in that opportunistic move. And now Albon is the car ahead of us. Piastri has actually dropped behind Carlos Sainz, so it is now a Ferrari 1-2. Charles Leclerc has got a decent gap out in front now. You can see the minimap on the bottom left there. Sainz in second place. He's gone up from like P5 to P2, so I don't know what's happened there, but it's really well worked out for Carlos Sainz. Piastri's now in third, and Albon is in fourth, as now Piastri's going to try and get past the Ferrari to ruin their chances at a 1-2 here. Up the inside goes Piastri. Sainz going to try and keep it, but he's going to be really tight on the next corner. That will allow Piastri to get the move done on the Spanish driver at Ferrari. We are right tucked up here behind Alexander Albon. We have quite a big gap to Verstappen actually, who has fallen back a little bit, and actually has Perez on his tail right now. And we're going to try and go for a move around the outside of Albon, slingshot our way around the outside at the same time that Piastri gets past Sainz, the move we saw just before, and that puts us now up into P4. Another thing to note, Piastri and Sainz also both on the hard compound tyres. Don't know what that's about there. Leclerc's on the mediums. Maybe that's why he's, gapped these guys a little bit here, because these guys are on the hards. I don't know why, because yes, soft to medium is perfectly doable. I mean, we're doing it, and I think we'll be fine, and other people are as well, but for whatever reason, some people are on the hard compound tyres. Sergio Perez right behind Max Verstappen here, of course his old teammate, but it's not going to matter for him as he has a mechanical failure on lap 20 of 22. Not good for us at McLaren, but at least for me, thankfully it's Perez and not myself. We've only had one retirement so far this season. Hopefully it doesn't become like last season where we have a bunch of retirements at the end of the season. On the last lap, the two Hasses swapped back around again. Earlier on, Magnussen was back ahead of Hulkenberg again, but on the last lap, Hulkenberg gets himself back up ahead of his teammates and up into P8. It is looking like Haas are going to score points this race. That is very big for them in this championship. And on the last lap here, we are going to try and go around the outside of Oscar Piastri. Sainz is back up into P2. Leclerc's going to fairly comfortably go on and lead this race, win this race. We are side by side with Piastri around the chicane. We're going to try and get the slingshot around the outside. We're going to be side by side with him as we head to the line. He just inches ahead at the last second, and we miss out on a podium by mere inches. It's P4 for us though. A decent result. Unfortunate that we couldn't get on the podium. It's a great day for Ferrari though. 1-2 for them and a win for Leclerc at the front of the championship.
And it's Monaco go for Charles Leclerc as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So it's a great day for Ferrari. 1-2 for them. Carlos Sainz back on the podium there in second place, fending off Oscar Piastri. We almost took that P3 from Piastri. We were so close behind him, but in the end, Piastri does manage to get third on the podium, and that is at least helpful for him in the championship. Of course, Leclerc was already ahead in the championship anyway of Piastri in second, and he will extend his lead by 11 points because Leclerc will end up, I believe, getting fastest lap in the end as well. But, oh no, sorry, he doesn't get fastest lap, so it's actually only 10 points. He extends the lead on Piastri with. We were, what, 3... Oh god, well, we were less than half a tenth of a second behind Piastri at the line there. It was ridiculously close, but it's P4 for us still. 12 points, decent. Alexander Albon 10 points, what a result. And Hulkenberg and Magnussen 8th and 9th respectively. They'll be happy with that, scoring 6 points for Haas. That is very, very good for them. Like I said, Leclerc will actually now lead Piastri by 12 points. So if he's just outscored him by 10, he must have only been 2 points ahead coming into this race. Fernando Alonso there in 3rd. We closed the gap back up on him though, as he only scores 1 point that race. We are now only 3 points behind Alonso, and it's a bit of a bigger gap back to Sainz and Perez behind me. Further down the order, of course, we saw Alexander Albon 11th in the championship now with 14 points, and Hulkenberg and Magnussen 13th and 14th with 4 points and 2 points. So that's good for them, and of course good for Haas, because now Haas are 7th in the championship, level on points with RB, but ahead of RB thanks to the finishing positions, and Williams in 6th with 14 points, but at the top it's still Aston Martin from Ferrari and McLaren. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.